Rightio, so we're live. Welcome to Private Practice Physiotherapist 2.0, the 150K a year, 4-day-a-week physio. Isn't that the dream? So my name's Nick Schuster. I'm the owner of a business called Ultimate Physio. I'll tell you a little bit about that soon. So here's what we're going to do today, guys. Just going to do a quick intro. Going to spend a little bit of time talking about the current challenges facing physiotherapists, primarily in Australia, primarily in private practice. Then we're going to do the meat of today, which is my 17 steps to becoming highly valued, highly paid, and doing what you love as a physio. And then finally, I'm going to finish with next steps. So here's how we're going to run today, guys. As I said to a few of you at the start, it's not my first rodeo. Probably given about 50 live webinars in the last 7 or 8 years, so very familiar with it. I really like this platform because it allows me to email you and give you copies of the recording very easily. But what we do sacrifice instead of Zoom is a little bit of interactivity. So I really want you to use the chat box. So I'm going to try and get through the content fairly quickly in about 40 to 50 minutes. You're going to receive a follow-up email within 48 hours and it's got a copy of the recording, so don't stress too much about that. The reason I want to get through the content quickly is to give you guys time to answer questions, because the main audience I tend to speak to is clinic owners and clinic owners who I know. So because many of you guys are new, you're going to have some questions. I want you to write your questions down in the chat box as well, and I will ask you for questions at the end. Because if you write them in the chat box, then I see them and it doesn't interrupt my flow, but then I have the opportunity to return to them. And my promise is to try and get it done in an hour. Notice how I said try. So that's what we're going to give a go. Okay, so this is me. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to ask you guys a question. So you're going to see something pop up on your screen. I want to know about you. What is your work setting? Are you in an MSK private practice? Are you in an NDIS private practice? Are you in a public or not-for-profit setting? Or are you other? And if there are clinic owners here, you guys are other. So what I want you guys to do is to answer that question now, just so I know who I'm talking to. And to be honest, what happens is I can, to some degree, customize the content based on the setting that you're in. Okay, so I think that poll's open. Can you guys give me, using your emojis, can you give me a heart if you can see the poll and if you've answered the poll? I'm just trying to get it to work. Okay. Yeah, beautiful. Awesome, guys. We're getting some results. We're getting some hearts. I'm pretty chilled. You be pretty chilled. This is what these webinars are all about. The main people I'm talking to today are people in musculoskeletal private practice, and I'll allude to why in a sec. Holy hell. Thank you, guys. So there's 80 people here, 65 people in 65 in MSK private practice, 0 NDIS, 0 public, 0 other. Holy hell, that's a pure survey, guys. My goodness. 15 people who haven't yet filled it out. And I'm no pressure, like that's enough responses. Okay, so we're talking to musculoskeletal private practice physiotherapists. How good's that? It's my bread and butter. I've been doing it 22 years. Okay, so for those who don't know me, I'm a little bit of an enigma. So my name's Nick Schuster, 43-year-old guy, married, 2 young kids. I own 2 clinics in North Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. I've owned my main clinic for 22 years and my newer clinic for 2 years. My proudest achievements are my own personal growth, my family, my teams and the impact of our businesses, and the community and the impact of a business called Ultimate Physio, which is a business I started 9 years ago. And the purpose of Ultimate Physio is to produce leadership, growth, personal development, and business content, primarily for clinic owners, but also for private practice physios. When I started, I did more content for physios, but I've moved hard towards clinic owners and the space where other coaches are working with young physiotherapists. That's a very full space. So I moved away from that space. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah, I'm a highly driven guy. I'm quite quirky. I know a lot about private practice. I'd say I'd be one of 5 people in Australia who know the most about private practice. And the reason I can say that is I speak to 5 to 10 clinic owners a day for the last 7 or 8 years about private practice. And our community, Ultimate Physio Clinic Owners Group, closed community on Facebook, has around 2,000 members. So like we have 1 in every 5 or 6 clinic owners in Australia. So I know private practice like the back of my hand, guys. Okay, so here's how we're going to play the game. I'm going to be honest and blunt. I'll try and be kind. I won't be rude, but, I will be honest. You may not like everything I have to say. So that's important too. May bring up some feelings or emotions, and that's okay because you're allowed to feel. I'm just trying to tell you the truth, and the truth is my truth. It might not be the same as your truth. I'd then just like to ask you to sit with it, go back and discuss it with your business owner. So like, some of the owners were nervous about what I'm going to say today, but the biggest thing is the things that you learn on this webinar, take them. Book a time with your owner, sit down, discuss it, and then work together to achieve it. Because I'll tell you what, your owners want you to be 150K a year, 4-day-a-week physios because you're so damn good, okay? So let's preface the meat of the presentation with the current challenges facing physios. So I know a lot of physios, thousands of physios, predominantly in private practice. Physios are smart, well-qualified, aspirational people. You don't get into physio without being super smart. My story in the 90s is I wanted to do medicine, but it was a postgraduate degree, so I chose physio instead. I actually had business listed, and with about 10 minutes to go before the tertiary preferences were due, I changed to physio. And I ended up doing a combination of the two. So guys, although physios are smart, well-qualified and aspirational, you're also generally underprepared in your early career for private practice post-graduation. This is a challenge. 2/3 of physios work in private practice, but the degree is so diverse that it has to teach you hospital, community, neuro, respiratory, MSK. Like, it's a very broad degree. And when you graduate, there are very few professions where you have to learn so many broad fields, but then one field, which is musculoskeletal private practice, employs 2/3 of graduates. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I did a very good musculoskeletal degree at UQ 20 odd years ago. Shortly after, they started really pushing the physiotherapy master's degrees. So I have this philosophy that they're teaching less MSK private practice in a bachelor degree these days to attempt to upsell many of you to a master's degree where they teach you more. This may or may not be the case. It's a hypothesis from my observation of early career physios in private practice. But anyway, to digress, if you're underprepared for private practice post-graduation, it causes issues. So here's the reality. You guys in your first 5 years of your career, you're doing your best. No one's questioning that. Career advancement is limited. Private practice is hard like that. You're not working for a big corporate like my wife where you can move through 10 career rungs and get to $500,000 a year. You're not paid what you're worth. Hey, Kirsten, nice to see you. So like the reality is, compared to accountants, lawyers, doctors, people that you've done a similar amount of study, apart from doctors, they do much more study than us. You're generally not paid what you're worth. The reason a musculoskeletal private practice physio is not paid what they're worth is almost certainly because you aren't generating enough revenue for the business to pay you what you're worth. And that's what I'm going to focus on for the next 5 minutes. So physio clinics, let's talk about physio clinics. So I personally know more than 1,000 clinic owners in Australia, and there are about 12 to 15,000 clinic owners Australia-wide. Now, the really good clinics, and I've collected stats alongside my accountant and alongside some fairly large organizations in the last 2 to 3 years, the good clinics make around 15% profit, the well-run clinics. But the struggling ones, guys, which is actually a much higher proportion than you'd think, make 5% profit or less. So in a private practice, there tend to not be mountains of cash to go around. And I've had a wonderful CEO for the last couple of years in my clinic, and he's taught all of our team members, he says this phrase, you're running your own little business within the business. And that's something that he's really echoed to them, and that tends to be true. Okay, so in my personal experiences, so my own businesses, and also the businesses that I coach. So I personally have worked with about 80 physio clinic owners, coaching them for between 1 and 5 years since 2018. I believe it's possible to pay a physio in private practice really, really well. It's also possible to give them the hours they want. And it's also possible for you guys, the employed physios, to be highly valued, to be highly paid, and to do the job that you love. But, and there's a big, big but, not every physio can get this. Most of you can't, and most of you won't. I'm sorry. It's true. Some of you will. That's why I'm doing this. I just don't know you well enough to know who will and who won't. If you're impatient, you won't get this. If you don't understand and seek to understand how private practice actually works, you won't get this. And here's a hard truth. If you don't listen to your owner and manager, you also won't get this. Tough to hear, hey? So a truth in private practice. Here's a truth. There's no disputing this. A physiotherapist in private practice can only be paid from the pool of revenue which you yourself generates. There's no other money. The only money that comes into a private practice is generated by the therapists through consults, classes, product sales, reports, incidentals like travel. There's no other sources of money. So here's the reality. If a physio generates a lot of money, we can pay you well. And if you don't, we can't. That's a commercial reality. Like, these are businesses. So here's a consequence of that truth. If you want to be paid more, you got to do one of three things. You got to step up. You got to tweak the model. It could be the model that's not working, or you've just got to accept where you are right now and knuckle down. Notice that I didn't say leave. Some mentors tell clinicians to leave the business they're in. I am not going to say that once in this webinar. If you want to leave, if you do this webinar and afterwards you want to leave, you sit down with your owner first and at least give them a chance. Give them a chance to tweak the model to keep you. Please make me that promise. Please, everybody. Okay, so here's another truth in private practice. How's this? I actually know many employed therapists right now who are out earning many owners. But it's only the therapists with full books. And obviously this is sad, but it's true, because there are some businesses that are struggling and hurting right now. I've been in business for 22 years. I actually believe it's never been harder to run a profitable private practice MSK physio clinic. So the best paid therapists can out earn clinic owners. Like, how do you feel about no risk and no startup costs? Like, I started a new clinic 2.5 years ago. Timothy, great question. Can I unpack the employee model? I'm going to actually, you read my mind. I started a new clinic 2.5 years ago, and the fit out alone was $200,000. I had to find that from somewhere. So, you guys get the chance to earn decent money and have no risk. So what I show you today can help you be one of those therapists. And thank you for the question, Tim. I love that you want to know more. So this is the start of answering your question. History of physio salaries. So I know a lot of physios who are between 60 and 70, and these primarily ladies, because physio was a very female-dominated profession initially. They mainly worked on a commission percentage, so there was no fair work laws. I should have actually done a poll at the start. I'm interested to know people's age. I might actually take a short pivot because I want to know the age group that I'm talking to today. And sorry for those watching the recording. So I'm going to go 25 and under, 26 to 30, 31 to 35. I'll do 35 plus. So let's do this poll, guys. Because before I give you this history, I just want to know who I'm speaking with. I'm obviously in the 35 plus. I'm 43 years old. So yeah, let's just take 30 seconds to find out who I'm speaking to here, because this helps when I go into the history. And it's a wonderful profession, physio. I absolutely love physiotherapy. I think we're at a real crossroads, and I think it's time for us to step up. Okay, so here's the mix, guys. More than 80% of you here are under 35. The most represented group here are the 26 to 30-year-olds, and about half of you are under 30. More than half of you. Yeah, this is good. So I'm speaking to predominantly people under 30, and 75% of you are under 35. So many of you will not necessarily know this history, so I hope this is helpful. Yeah, in the 1980s, predominantly female physios, they're on a straight commission. You get X% of the patients you see, because Fair Work, I don't know if Fair Work didn't exist, but our industry was not regulated by an award. Guess what, guys? They actually did 15-minute consults. They did manual therapy, exercise, electrotherapy. They swapped between rooms. Most of the rooms were curtained. They would just run around like chooks with their heads cut off, but they were very skilled and very efficient. I'm friends with so many of those physios. They tend to be aged over 60 now. Very good physios. Like if you work for one of them, you learn some good skills. Obviously, you know, as Australia evolved and workers got more rights, things became more structured. In the 1990s, you know, obviously we saw the evolution of salary. So like a base hourly rate, a minimum wage, a minimum hourly rate, but there were still physios working on a straight commission percentage. The way they delivered their physiotherapy was similar, like a similar type of appointment structure. I graduated at the end of 2003. So in the 2000s, you know, straight commissions were starting to get less and less, which I think is good. A lot of physios want to be paid commission, but it doesn't protect your workers' rights and give you, you know, you're not protected from being fired, or if no patients turn up, you know, you don't get paid, etc. So in the 2000s, you know, most clinics moved towards salary, and one-on-one appointments were getting more common. I started in a small clinic that I bought off a lady, and it had 2 curtained rooms, but I didn't like the curtains because I wanted my patients to have full privacy. So when I built my first clinic, obviously I built private rooms. Come into the 2010s, the bulk of physios are still on salary, but also there was an introduction of a base plus commission pay structure, which meant you had a salary, and then if you brought in more revenue, you got a little piece of how much extra you brought in. I thought that was amazing. I can't remember where I first learned about it. I wish I could. But yeah, I thought it was quite remarkable. I thought surely if a physio brings in more, they should earn more. I thought that's great. And in the 2010s, like we had to really step up. So like most clinics are doing one-on-one appointments. There's very few clinics where they're seeing 2 people at the same time. Okay, so we're now halfway through the 2020s. Geez, that's scary to say. And the most common pay structure I see, but again, I only deal with the top echelon of clinics, is a base plus commission salary structure, where people are, you know, rewarded reasonably well, and then they're given an upside if they generate more revenue or they bill a higher amount. And I think that's a very fair structure, and I think that's really important. And what it means is a younger physio who bills more can earn more than an older physio who bills less. You know, I think that's fair. I think the older physio should have a higher base salary, but the younger physio can earn a total package if you get really good at what you do and you do my 17 steps. Okay. So this is another way to answer Tim's question. So little bit of metrics behind the scenes. What percentage of the revenue that you generate should you be paid? You know, again, this will vary. You know, I'm giving you averages, and you don't need to get too cut up about this if you're above or below, because I don't know your clinic situation. Your rent may be high. You may run very long appointments. You know, your boss may be very easy on you and you don't have to work so hard. So like all these things are different. Okay, so a graduate generally in our industry will take home 38 to 42% of the revenue they generate, including super. So this is as a total package. Your base, your commission, your super, your tax, your PD allowance, everything the clinic can spend on you. Graduates, 38 to 42, give or take. 1 to 2 years out, You know, the range is 40 to 43, including super, including tax, could be more, could be less. 3 to 5 years, you're looking at 42 to 45. 6 to 10 years, you're looking at 43 to 48. When you're an experienced physio, 10 plus years, it's around half of what you generate, provided you're generating good revenue. What about the 20-year physios? This is one of the hardest things of our profession is, you know, what's the difference between a 10-year and 20-year physio? Heaps in terms of quality, but, you know, can you pay them differently? Not unless they're charging rates that are higher. In a physio clinic, it's actually nearly impossible to pay a therapist more than 50%, including super in their total package of what they bring in, because we have expenses. You know, we have admin, we have rent, you know, we have everything you need to pay for in the clinic. You know, I get these random land tax bills, an electricity bill for $2,000, insurance. Our work cover is $5,000 a year. Just be glad you're not in my situation. You know, getting 4 and 5 figure bills on a daily basis. It's scary. Okay, back to percentage. I've heard of a handful of physios in Australia, because I've done surveys on this, that are on 55%, including super, and I've even heard of one on 60%. When I heard of one on 60%, I went back to the owner and I said, why do you pay your physio 60%? And they said, because they bill 600 grand a year. I'm like, oh, wow. That's like double as high as I've heard of almost any other physio billing. And I won't tell you why. It's based on where they work in Australia and how many patients they see. And then I reflected and I thought, well, I'd pay a physio who bills 600K a year, 360K, 60% of it as a package every day of the week. So like physios can earn a lot, but they got to generate a lot. This webinar is not about earning 360. It's about earning 150. You don't need to go that far yet, because that physio was seeing 100 clients a week. They chose to. Okay, so back to Tim and for the rest of you, what is a 150K package by the numbers? So superannuation's been increasing 0.5% every year for the last 4 years. It's capping out at 12% next week on the 1st of July 2025. So a 150 grand package is the following. It's about $134,000 a year plus super for a 38-hour week and 52-week year. When you boil this down, when you divide 150 by 52 and then by 38, you get a number that's around $68 an hour. $68 an hour is the total package value for 150K a year physio. Total package value is the base salary plus the commission plus the super. Now, obviously, you don't get that in the hand. Super comes out. Tax comes out. You know, like the hard thing is if you earn 150, you're not going to get 3 grand a week. That's not how it works. If you have a 150K package, I'm just going to guess you might get 1,800 to 2 grand a week in the hand. So don't go out and buy that $1 million house just yet. But yeah, that's a little bit of an indication of what it looks like as a number. Okay, so here's another truth. It's actually nearly impossible to pay a physio $68 an hour as a base, including super. Nearly impossible, because the business would go broke. We don't have enough revenue to pay that. Almost all clinics will pay this structure through the base plus commission plus super model, and they'll pay it as you build your caseload. Like, you can't start with an empty caseload on this salary. Like, it can't be done. It's not possible. Okay. Here's something you probably all want to know. How much do you have to bill to be paid 150K a year package? To be paid 150K package a year, you need to bill, what's behind the curtain? You need to bill 300 grand a year. If you come into my clinic and you bill 300 grand a year, you get a 150K package. But how? How do we actually achieve this? So what is 150 grand a year by the numbers? So to bill 300 grand a year, we need to calculate this over a 44-week working year. My good friend Jade Scott taught me this. From 52 weeks, you got to take out 4 weeks of annual leave, brings you down to 48. 2 weeks of sick leave brings you down to 46, and then approximately 10 days of public holidays, so down to 44. This means we need to generate $6,818 a week from your consults for you to bill 300K a year. And you can't do that seeing DVA. What's DVA pay these days? $73.30. If you were seeing DVA clients, you're going to need to see almost 100 DVA clients a week to bill 300K a year. Where I'm going with this is that your clinic needs to charge appropriate rates. And this is part of what I alluded to at the start with the fact that, you might need to tweak your model. So let's talk about clinic charges. I've been speaking about this a lot with owners the last 2 to 3 years because in general, our profession is too cheap and we're actually suffering some of the problems and repercussions from that right now. Okay, so clinic charges. I've collected a lot of data both with the APA and alone, looking at average per consult. So most recent data collection we did was this month. We used a sample size of almost 400 clinics, and we based this on a clinic that does 30-minute follow-up consults. The average we found was between $220 and $240 an hour for private consults. The compensables dragged this down to a straight average of $215 per hour across all consults, and these are clinics from Australia-wide. So realistically, you're looking at $110, $120 for a private consultation, okay? So if you need to bill 6818 a week and the average is $115 a consult, that means you need to see 60 patients a week. Now that's not super easy. Some of you here may actually be seeing 60 patients a week. I don't expect my physios to see 60 a week. We charge a little bit more and we try and stay around 50 a week. Here's some nice sums for you though. But the more your clinic charges, if you charge $120 a session, average, you bill your 300K a year on 57 patients a week. If you go to 125 a session, you bill your 300K on 55 patients a week. And if you give really good quality and price well at 135 a session, which people will pay, then the number drops to 50 patients a week you need to see to bill 300K a year. And I believe that's sustainable, 50 patients a week. And what are our stats in my clinic's average per session? So I took data from the second week of June 2025, and we're at an average of $138 a consultation. Our clinic is in a mid-socioeconomic area. We're 45 minutes north of Brisbane. We have a mixed caseload with about 50% private. But the big difference is our business has been around for more than 20 years. So we're very well known. It's hard to charge a lot in a new business, but it can be done if your quality is really good. Okay, so if you're going to bill 300K a year, I believe seeing 50 patients a week is achievable because it's around 30 hours of contact time across new and follow-up appointments. So we've been tracking this in our business for 3 or 4 years. I don't want my physios treating for 38 hours a week. That's not fair. Conversely, if you're treating for less than 25 hours of a 38-hour week, that's not fair on your owner. Yep, you heard me right. Okay, so if you're treating for 27 to 32 hours a week as a range, let's say in my business it's 30 hours a week. It leaves you 8 hours a week for admin, catch-up time, time with your colleagues, downtime, having a coffee, having a break. These are all things you're definitely entitled to, okay? Gives you a nice balanced week, 30 hours a week of client time. I don't want anyone to burn out, okay? My wife is a lawyer. The expectations in her profession is they bill 6 to 7 hours a day, okay? She's currently expected to bill 7 hours a day. She's billed at a good rate. She probably takes home about a quarter of what she bills and she earns a lot, okay? It can be done. Rightio. Okay, so here's what you have to do to get your 150K package, 17 steps. This is the bit I'm going to be rushing through pretty quick. You can come back to it. You can ask questions at the end. If you stay till the end, I'll drop the slides into the chat box. You can download them. You will get an email in the next 2 days. Check your junk and your spam. It'll have the recording. Discuss this with your owner. Do a PD with your team. Do whatever you will with this. Step 1. Okay, so you have to work in a clinic who values you, who designs an employment package for you that if you bill more, you earn more, and that also has clinical philosophies you align with. Now, here's the big caveat. If this isn't where you're at right now, don't leave. Your boss might just not know this exists. This is really common. Most bosses aren't trying to keep you down. They just genuinely don't know that this stuff exists. You know, if they join my community, which is free, they can learn about this stuff, or they can learn about it from someone else. So if you're not on a base plus commission system, have a chat to your boss about this, because it's bloody good. But the reality is it may not be sustainable in your business, or it may be, or you may actually be on something better than this. So don't leave, ask your boss to build it with you. Number 2, this is really important. You have to commit to that clinic for, at least 3, but preferably 5 years to get to the salary and the hours you desire, because it doesn't happen overnight. I have found with physios, it takes them around 2 years in the same clinic, same place, to be known and to build a decent caseload, especially with a mix of private patients. If you don't have private patients, you can't bill those fees to get to the 300K. Like if you're only treating work cover and DVA clients, as I said, you're going to have to see 100 of them a week. So the long-term commitment is a big part of this, okay? Like I've had physios, if you stay 1 year or leave after 2 years, you can't get to this. Time is an important factor. You have to be patient. You can't be impatient. Okay, number 3, your billable consult rate has to average more than $240 an hour for private patients for follow-up appointments. What I mean by that is if your clinic's not charging that $110 to $120 or more for a 30-minute follow-up consult, this is hard to do. Some of your clinics may do 20-minute follow-ups. The stats that I've looked at re clinic hourly rates, clinics that do 20-minute follow-ups, and if you've never done it before, it might sound daunting. I can assure you that it can be done in many situations, not all situations, but obviously 20-minute follow-ups, they can charge a little less than $120 and their hourly rate is much higher. What I can say to you guys is you can only really do this treating around 40% private clients in your caseload. But the people here listening to this today, you guys are private practice musculoskeletal physios exclusively. So, in private practice clinics, you'll see anywhere from 1/3 to 2/3 private clients. So this is achievable, okay? Alrighty, number 4. We're speaking mainly to Aussies. Here's what Aussie patients want, and research shows this too. You need to get really, really good at your physio skills. So you've got to be good at manual therapy, because if you can't give people pain relief, they don't come back. You need to be good at building therapeutic alliance and high-level communication, because again, if you don't, your people won't come back and give you a chance to help get them better. You've got to be good at your exercise prescription. Fiddly, outdated exercises, they don't cut it anymore. You've got to be good at your practical education they understand. Don't just throw research at them, because, research shows that people only remember 10% of what they got in their consultation. And you need to be really good at diagnosis, which is what's wrong, and prognosis, which is how long will it take. This stuff is really, really important. This webinar is not about me going deeper into these topics. I'm a business mentor rather than a clinical mentor, but I will give you resources at the end and people to follow who can help you with this stuff. So like if you're an average physio, you can't bill a high rate and expect people to return. That's the truth, okay? We all need to hear that. But I don't believe you guys are average physios, because you wouldn't have even got this far. We would have had a drop off with the people on this. Okay, this is a really interesting one. You need to give every single new patient a treatment plan. Okay, a treatment plan. What's wrong? How long is it going to take to get better? What does the patient do self-directed to help it? And what sort of therapies do they need? Okay, 4 things. I did a survey this week. Around 80% of clinics do formal treatment plans. If your clinic doesn't, you guys need to start. Okay, a treatment plan keeps patients accountable. It makes things simple and reliable for them, and it takes the thinking away. They go home and their other half says, what did the physio say? They're like, I've got a stiff lower lumbar spine. I need to stretch it, and we need to mobilize it, and we need to strengthen everything. They don't have to remember anything. There's only one exception. There's only one type of patient who shouldn't receive a treatment plan, and that's the little old caravanning man or woman that comes in and says, I'm just parked in the caravan out the front, and I just want to see you today, and then this afternoon I'm getting in my car and I'm driving north or south or east or west. And so I used to see 2 or 3 of those a year, and they didn't receive a treatment plan. So treatment planning is vital, guys. Patients want it. Okay, number 6. If you want to be a really good physio, you need to do extra learning and advanced communication, because some patients are difficult. And I don't mean their conditions are difficult. I mean their personalities are difficult. Okay. It's hard to connect with everyone. There are plenty of good physio-specific mentors for this, and I mention a lot of them at the end. Forgive me if I've overlooked anyone when I get to that stage. I mentioned quite a few. Okay. Number 7, this might challenge you. You need to follow up every single patient who no-shows or cancels. Yes, you, not the admin team. You can work with your admin team, but I want to explain why this needs to be you. So say someone's got a knee problem and it's not getting better and they need to go and have a scan, but they haven't rebooked. Does the admin team know any of this when they contact the client? No, they don't. You know what's going on with their condition and what they need, and admin doesn't. Now, in our clinic, I don't mind if people call or if our therapists call or text the patient. I don't like emails because they can go into junk or spam. I've been sending emails for 15 years and the average open rate is 1 in 3. Call or text the patient. If you want a script, hey, John, this is Peter, your physio, and I'm just checking in with you because I saw you for your knee a month ago and I haven't seen you since. How are you? John's either going to say, I'm great, I don't need your help, or I had the scan and I'm going to come back. He probably can't say anything else other than just those two things. Don't be shy about contacting people. Aria, how often should you follow up? When does it become overbearing and pestering? One of our practice managers had a rule that if you try and contact someone 3 times and you can't get through, that you're pestering them. You should contact every single person that doesn't return. And it does need to be customized. If someone's going on a holiday for a month, I would wait until they got back and then wait a week and get in touch with them. If someone had a problem and they were getting a scan for them, I'd diarise when to contact them. So how often should you follow up? I can't answer that, but I can tell you that everyone should be followed up at a customized frequency. Okay? Love the question. Okay. Number 8, you need to maintain a clinical philosophy of helping every single patient under your care to reach their goals. Even though they might not say so, this is what they came for. Many of them will tell you they just want to get out of pain. But the reality is, if you've got someone who hurt their back, who can't sleep, James Schomburg has told me that the recurrence rate of that condition is super, super, super high within 12 months. I can't remember the percentage, so I'm not going to quote it. So your responsibility is to help them get out of pain, but then to help them prevent that injury coming back, because it's so often. Right now, talking to you, I have a herniated disc in my back. I herniated it 3 weeks ago. I was in hospital for a couple of days. I was on strong painkillers for a week. I've just come off them. The biggest thing I want now is for that not to happen again. Okay? So patients deserve you being in the frame of mind that your clinical philosophy is, I will help you achieve your goal, whatever it takes. Even if you stop coming, I have to call you and say, hey, what's happening? Is everything okay? That's what people really appreciate. Stop discharging people early. Stop making the assumption that if someone doesn't come back, they're better. I'm not going to tell you that if they don't come back, they're better or they're not. You need to get in touch with them and see if they are. There's a school of thought in physio where all you need to do is educate the person and send them on their way. If I've just said to you that people forget 90% of what was said in the consult, how is that possible? How is that going to work? Stop discharging people early. The best clients I've had who have referred tens or even hundreds of family and friends are the people I've helped achieve a goal. Okay? Now, guys, I've been around long enough to know that when you discharge them early, guess what they do? They think, oh, why doesn't that physio care about me? Why didn't they tell me to come back? I'm still in pain, or I still haven't been able to run. And so then they just go to another physio. Or worse still, they think physio didn't work for me. They go to a chiro, they go to a massage therapist, they go to an osteopath, they have a steroid injection, they have surgery. They see someone who actually wants to help them get better. And we know that physio is at the absolute cutting edge of evidence-based conservative management of musculoskeletal pain. Stop discharging people early, see them through to goal attainment. Find out what goal attainment is for them. Get them out of the acute phase, and when they're not in pain and they're sleeping, speak about their goals and their aspirations and their dreams. Okay? Otherwise, they will find someone who wants to help them get better. Number 9, this is very closely connected. You need to work on your own limiting financial beliefs and not project your limiting financial beliefs onto patients, your fellow staff, or the clinic owner. So here's what happened when I was 21. I did prac year and I had no money. When I had no money, it was easy for me to think that no one else had any money. I was young and fit and healthy. I had never hurt myself. It was easy for me to not value physiotherapy because I had no money and I was fit and healthy and had never really been injured. Now, guys, as we saw before, 75% of you are under 35. Many of you may never have suffered a severe health complaint. There's a very high chance, if you're watching or listening to this, that you're young, that you're healthy, and that you don't have much money. There's a very high chance that's the case. Now, most of your patients, let's talk about your patients. Most of your patients are older than you, are less healthy than you, and have more money than you. They're coming to you for advice about how to get out of pain, how to optimize their health, how to be able to get a good night's sleep because it's breaking them down, how to be able to get back to work because if they lose their job, they might lose their house, how to be able to, here's a big one, if you're a grandmother and you have a grandchild, your greatest desire is to play with your grandkids. I know so many grandmothers who are millionaires who will do anything and pay any amount of money to play with their grandkids. Do not project your limiting financial beliefs onto these grandmothers or any of your patients. They are them and you are you. It's really important in your development for you to not project onto others. It's really important for me to not project onto you. Okay? It's probably the toughest that I'll be today. Alrighty, number 10. This is about saving time. You need to move towards an AI note-taking software to save you time because this is the future. We've been using one in our clinic for about 2 years now. They're good. There's two main ones. One's called Patient Notes. One's called Heidi. Go and try them and take your pick. Okay. Number 11, you need to be efficient. Okay. To see 50 patients a week and to have 8 hours free still, you need to be efficient. Guys, if you're using AI note-taking software, you don't need more than 30 minutes a day to do admin. If you believe you do, go and Google something called Parkinson's Law. Okay, Parkinson's Law. And if you can't get under 30 minutes of admin time, please go and find the most efficient physio in your clinic and just watch them, learn from them, study them, do what they do. Okay, model the most effective behaviors that you see. Okay. Number 12. You need to do your notes in the session with the patient because that's what the doctors do. What I would do is I would sit my patient next to me and I would tilt my computer 45 degrees and I would look from them to the notes as I would type. Did anyone care? No. And I just said to them, hey, do you mind if I take some notes as we speak just so I can capture everything? How many people said no in 20 years? Nobody. Okay, you need to do your notes in the session. It's only a couple of exceptions like pelvic health physio. It's a bit tough. But they really like the AI note-taking software. But MSK Physio, do your notes in the session. Clean them up afterwards, but do the bulk of them. Okay, number 13. You need to treat around 50 patients a week. Or if you charge more, it gets less. Or if you charge less, it's more. Or have 28 to 31 hours of treating time a week for a full-time physio. And obviously pro rata that if you work part-time, if you do 19 hours a week, your target is 25 patients a week and around 15 hours of treating time. Very manageable, okay? But stuff that's not always spoken about. Number 14, take your annual leave. Don't save it up. You need to take it to stay fresh. More frequent breaks I've seen for my team members and for therapists working in clinics that I coach tend to keep people fresher. Of course, if you've got a wedding or a honeymoon or an amazing 4-week holiday, you've got to plan for that. Save it up, take unpaid leave, etc. Take your leave though, guys, because if you don't, you'll get cooked. Okay, number 15. This is important. If you do take a big block of leave, more than 3 weeks, when you're coming back, you need to work hard to rebuild your list. Okay, that's really important. How to do this? Everyone you saw in the 6 weeks before you left, if they're not in your future diary, just call them up or text them and ask how they are. That's all you got to do. It's not hard. Okay, your diary was full before you left. It shouldn't be empty when you come back. Number 16, controversial. You actually need to give a shit about your clinic owner. We are not robots. We are not inhuman. We are you with more battle scars. Your clinic owner hold the keys to what you want. Help them and they'll reward you. Biggest thing I want you to do after this is go and book a time to speak to them and say, hey, this is what I learned. What can we do together? Okay? You help them, they reward you. But like if they don't have the cash in the first place, it's hard for them to pay it. No clinic owner should go and have to put a mortgage on their house to pay you more. Yep. Number 17. You also need to care about the profitability of the business you work in. Now more than ever. If your business is profitable, it can pay you more. It can train you better. You know, it can deliver better quality. It can market to get you a certain type of clients. If your business is low profit or no profit, the owner's hands are tied. They're stressed and they're in a position of risk and they're in a position of challenge. Build up the kitty and share it. That's important. Okay, so they're my 17 points. So I alluded to some of the people that you can learn from, and many of my clinic owner clients utilize these consultants and are willing to pay for them to help you to go to the next step. I've got some good friends whose names are here. Great company called The Second Visit. James Schomburg, Jeremy Hobbs, Peter Eckhart. Global Specialist Physio, Kieran Richardson. Mick Risk, Annette Tonkin, and Jade Scott, one of my very good friends who runs a good course called Good to Great in Private Practice. So these are some of my good friends who can help you. Okay, so geez, I'm good. 12:49, 50 minutes. We got 10 minutes for questions. Please type them in the chat box now. There's a little lag, so go quickly. If you pull out your phone, I want to give you something for free. Something else. I already promised you the slides. I wrote a book years ago called Becoming the Ultimate Physio. It was my first Ultimate Physio book. And while I think I could make improvements, I think it's still reasonable. And I'm giving you the audio version for free. Pull out your phone, do the QR code, and that will get you a free link to that audio book. It goes for about 4 hours, so you've got to listen to this voice for another 4 hours. Obviously, if you're listening to the recording, get in touch with me, nick@ultimatephysio.com.au, and I'll give you a copy. Okay, so as your questions come in, I'm just going to see if I can upload a copy of the slides for today. I think I'm going to have to add a handout. I'll just be 1 sec. How good's this software? Just uploading, guys. So I'm going to press a button now, and you're going to have today's slides. Get the book, get the slides. We've got 10 minutes. I'll stay as long as the questions keep coming, and I'll keep recording too because people get value from this. So question time, guys. Yeah, here we go. Ryan, what's your opinion on the most functional base salary versus commission percentage for the 150? Okay, you've got to build your way up. It's hard to pay a physio 60 an hour base. I think really good physios, once they're bringing in around 250K revenue, you can bring their hourly rate above $50 an hour. I want to pay my physios between $50 and $60 an hour as a base and have commission on top of that. To pay them $50 an hour, I need them billing $250 a year. Hope that helps, Ryan, and feel free to add to it. Kenneth, the QR code didn't work. Okay. I will see what I can do about that. I might even put the link in the email that you get as a follow-up. Gaurav, the most important for me to take home is think win-win for me and the clinic owner. Gaurav, absolutely brilliant. Couldn't agree with you more. Nancy, hi, I'm working 9 to 2 in the clinic with half an hour of admin time. What do you think? How many patients a week should I be seeing by the end of the week? 9 to 2, 5 hours, 25 hours, taking your lunch break out, Nancy. So that's 22 and a half hours. I would say in 22 and a half hours, I'd set a goal for 30 patients a week, thereabouts. Aaron, at what point do you think is the right point to be having commission come up on top of your base? I.e. 4.5K before commission comes in earlier or later. I'm not sure I understand your question, Aaron. Can you have a think and just rephrase it? L, do you have an opinion on being paid through an ABN versus as a staff member? Many different ways to pay people. You would have to discuss with your owner, their reasoning behind why they do one or the other. Ben, how many years out is it realistic to achieve 150K a year? In my experience, how many years out of uni? I'd say it's hard to get there before you're around 5 years out. How many years in the same business? 3 years. Maybe you can ask me a more specific question, Ben. Luke, in a clinic that offers bulk billing, would you recommend discussing with the owner changing session time from 30 to 20 minutes? 100%. If you're going to bulk bill people, you have to do shorter appointments. Just going to take a quick pause, guys, and I'm going to go and find the link for the audio book another way, and I will just share it with you. Won't be a sec. I'm going to drop the book link in the chat box as well. Now, these are great questions, guys. I'm really excited to answer your questions because they're so good. Okay, so please download your book from the chat box now. Okay, back to the questions. Ashmitha, hi Nick, should we be charging a higher weekend rate for consults on a Saturday and Sunday? Thanks for the webinar, pleasure, and I'm glad you like the book. Yes, you should. Go and look, Ashmitha, for your justification. It's something called the APA Physiotherapy Service Descriptors. They recommend charging a certain percentage more for appointments outside normal business hours. APA Physiotherapy Service Descriptors, probably like 25%. Leah, do you think a mixed caseload with MSK as well as NDIS makes it difficult to achieve? So currently there's some challenges with the NDIS and the government trying to drop the rate. I did our clinic stats and we see 8% NDIS clients. It's still very achievable for our physios to hit the good dollars with 8%. I think if the percentage of NDIS clients goes very high, it gets harder. I'll say that. L says $68 per hour, including super, would equate to how much take home? Divide 68 by 1.12 L, and I don't know if you're casual or permanent, so I don't know whether to take holidays off and then take a third of it off in tax. So Aaron, base salary plus commission. How much do you need to bill prior to having the percentage split of commission for what you see? I don't think I can answer that without seeing numbers, Aaron. Email me, nick@ultimatephysio.com.au. Ben, what's a strategy you use to hold on to patients beyond the subacute phase so you can see them 8 to 9 times before discharging that you recommend? Refocusing goals. I sort of alluded to that, Ben, where in the acute phase, the main thing they want is to get out of pain. I need to sleep. I need to move. What you've got to do is, as their pain is reducing, you've got to say, okay, patient, your pain's getting better, but this injury was caused somehow. Do you want to actually focus on preventing it from returning? They get to choose yes or no. You'll lose some patients that don't care, but you'll just see them again, Ben, in 6 months. The patients that do care, you work with them through that subacute, into preventive stage. Hope that helps. Ryan, given the limited profit return as a clinic owner, when would you consider opening a clinic yourself versus working as an employee indefinitely? Oh, that's a hard question. Okay, to open a clinic, you need cash to burn, so you need money. you need the desire to do things very differently from where you are right now. And you probably need to be in a life situation where you can double your current working hours for the next 2 to 3 years. There's many more answers to this question, Ryan, but that would be like a fairly blunt assessment. Like, I still think opening a clinic is a good thing. You've just got to know what you're going to be up for. Aaron, do you believe in a tiered system for different practitioners? Yes, I do. So in our clinic, we have practitioner, and then once they hit 10 years, we have senior practitioner. And the senior practitioners charge more. Mancy, taking exercise classes is a strategic move. Yeah, like in our clinic, we mainly do consults, but that's because we're in a very expensive premises on the waterfront, so we don't have the room. Yeah, like taking classes helps people stay on past the acute phase. It's a smart thing, provided you've got the premises to allow it. Jason, my demographic is healthy 20 to 30-year-olds sporting. Does this change goals and metrics? Yeah, it definitely does. Unless those patients are funded by their parents, the number of visits they can attend is more limited than the mature people. So you need to take this into account when you look at caseload management and how you're going to keep a full caseload. Melanie, any extra points for pelvic physios? Yeah, so you guys should be charging a higher rate than Musk, but it's hard for you to see as many patients. I definitely think that you should make use of AI note software for a pelvic physio. I've employed pelvic physios on and off for 10 years. Yeah, you guys should be charging more than Musk because you do more training. Ashmitha, if we do a longer initial, should we be charging more for this, or would you recommend we just charge for 30 and 60 minutes? So in our clinic, we offer the patients a 45-minute initial or a 30-minute. The 45-minute is priced another 50% higher than the 30-minute, and then they get to choose. Okay, so we say the physio recommends you come for 45, but if they balk at the price, we'll give them a 30. Leah, in terms of client follow-up, do you allow clinicians to call from personal or mobile number or the desk phone? These days, you've got better options. We use an app called Just Call. So all the practitioners have a login for this app on their phone. They call from their physical phone, but the number that rings through to the client is the clinic's number. So I'm not a fan of people having calling clients on a number that is their own personal mobile or an unlisted number. Leah, these apps are brilliant these days. There's so many of them. The one we use is called Just Call. And even though it costs money, it pays itself off because a patient gets a call from our clinic's number and they pick it up. Geez, we're getting through the questions well, and your questions are really good. We've still got 85 people here, but I know it's just ticked over 1 o'clock here in Brisbane, so I know many of you have to go. Are there any more questions? I will just share one more time the ebook, or no, the audio book, sorry, because I don't want you guys to email me asking me for a copy of that audio book. I probably can't handle the extra emails. So if you want that, now is your one chance to get that, okay? I will actually, as I said, modify the post webinar email and we'll add a copy of that audio book. Please do not email me asking for the audiobook. I will not be replying to those emails, okay? I'm giving you a couple of different opportunities for me to give that to you in another form. Yeah, this has been really fun. Main thing, you don't need to get everything from this webinar, but I normally tell people to try and get 2 to 3 gold nuggets and go back and discuss it with your clinic owner. Chris, when would you expect a new grad physio to see 50 patients a week? Not in their first year. The hard thing for a new grad physio is you might want to earn as much as possible, but you're not quite going to have the skills to do it sustainably. I think a really, really driven new grad could see 50 a week within a year. I think a new grad that's a bit slower paced, that's more like an 18-month journey. Hope that helps, Chris. Ashmitha, my pleasure. So if you're leaving, just say goodbye in the chat box. I'll keep answering questions. I'll stay for another 5 or 10 minutes because your questions are really good. And the good thing is they help other people on here as well. So, yeah, your questions are great. I hope I've given some good value today. Yeah, the webinar software I use has about a 15-second lag. So see you guys. A few people checking out. Ruth, where are the slides? Great question. Okay. Thank you for the reminder. They are here. I just shared them. Can you just let me know that you see them? Thanks for the reminder. Brian, what would your expectation be for an appropriate salary for physio 2 to 3 years out? I would need to know how much you're billing. Oh, just to be general though, like more than a grad, but it depends how you're performing. Like if your performance is good, 10 grand more than a grad, even 15. If your performance is not good, 5 grand more. So, notice that I qualify things a lot. So you can see the slides now. You got a chance to download them. Thanks, guys. See a lot of people heading off. Slides are there. I think most people got the slides. I'll make sure you get them on the follow-up with the email. Thanks for the reminder, Ruth. Thanks, everyone. 2 more minutes and then I'll close this down. Final chance for questions, guys. Renee, any tips around a physio's caseload that has lots of appointments billed at a lower price for referral networking with the sporting clubs? You're going to have to change the agreement. Like what we do with our sporting clubs is we do $10 off the first consult. Then they just, after that, they pay the normal price. I think you're offering them more than they're asking for. Ryan, thank you. I like your sentiment there. Love your work. Thank you. I think I do good work. I'm very proud of the work that I do. Cool. 1 more minute, guys, and then we'll finish up. Jack, what do you think the highest sustainable weekly client number is? Well, okay, only those of you here still get to hear that the highest number of clients I saw in 1 week was 137. That is not sustainable. I think a really good physio can be sustainable on 60 clients a week. I do know physios that treat 80 to 100 clients a week, but they're different beasts. Sustainable, Jack, if I'm honest, 60. 60 clients a week is about 5 to 8 new clients a week. And the rest of your people are either people who need maintenance, people who are partway through an episode, or returning old clients with a new episode. And the thing is, if you're in a job for 3+ years, you get all those types. If you only stay for a year or two, you miss out on old clients coming back with new episodes, and they are gold. They're lovely to treat. You know their history. You pick up where you left off, and you're just treating them for a new injury or ailment. Now, great questions. I want to extend it 1 more minute. I'll give you 1 more minute for questions. Gaurav, thank you. Love your support for our profession. Yeah, I do too, mate. I want to do my best, especially now. Pleasure, Renee. Thanks for being so interactive too, guys. So many people stayed till the end. So many people. Jack, thanks, mate. You're a new grad currently reading my book. That's awesome. Glad to hear it. Hope it's helpful. And again, you don't have to align with everything. Just take your 2 or 3 gold nuggets. Okay, guys, 30 seconds and then we'll finish off. Yeah, so expect some emails from me with links to the recording and the resources. Pleasure, Kenneth. And yeah, check your junk, check your spam. Don't email me asking for copies of stuff. I am happy to receive an email from you with genuine questions. Pleasure, Amelia. Awesome, guys. Stopping the recording now.